Last week I was being interviewed by a reporter from a publication in Belgium, and the individual asked me a question that I hear really all the time in different ways and forms, but he asked me whether or not we would be growing our own food in Atlantica. Well, what that question really is whether or not the undersea colony of Atlantica will be self-sufficient. I answered the question in this way. I asked the gentleman whether he had bread on his plate at his dinner the night before, and he said yes. And I said, "What city do you live in, sir?" And he said he lived in Antwerp. And I said, "Well, in Antwerp, do they grow the grain that you needed to have bread on your plate?" And he said no, that they probably grew the grain in some rural area. And I said, "Well, it is possible that the grain that went into the bread that you ate came from Nebraska." So the illustration was that all of us, when we go to sit down to dinner, are eating products that were probably grown all over the world, in different places all over the world. The things that we see on our plate did not come from one farm, but came from many. Did not come from one place, but came from many places. And that's true about every community on the planet. When we settle down for dinner in Atlantica, we'll be 15 miles east of the Florida coast in a Florida community. And when we get ready to eat dinner, we will have been to the grocery store to buy the things that we needed for our dinner. There's probably no community on earth that is self-sufficient. All communities rely on products from other communities, products from many different places from all over the world. Atlantica is no different. We are no different than any other community. One of the principles that we find as we look at self-sufficiency is the smaller the community, the less self-sufficient you are. So that as Atlantica grows, eventually we will have our own grocery store. Eventually we will begin to produce our own products. For instance, within several years we will have an aquaculture program going, and we will be able to put some of the protein or meat on our table, as well as anything else that we might be able to produce on a very small level within the basis of a very small community. Self-sufficiency is something that I don't think that any community on earth really strives for, because we are so fortunate to be able to pull everything that we need from communities all over the planet. You've been listening to An Exploration Moment, a podcast of the Atlantica Expeditions. I'm Dennis Chamberlain.